example D here is really similar to example C, so I'm going to leave this to you for you to do and make sure that you go in and check the completed solutions to see that your graph matches my graph. So I'm going to skip down here to E because this one looks different. So if I think about my long division here, if I tried to do x squared minus 2x minus 3 into 2x plus 5, well, straight away, there's nothing to multiply x squared by to make 2x. I mean, I would have to multiply by like 2 over x, and of course I don't want to put a rational function here, especially not a rational with x. So my long division doesn't work. And if I think about this graph, well, when x is getting really, really big, x squared dominates. So for example, at 100, I have 200 over 10,000. So 200 over 10,000, that's a really small number. That's telling me that my horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. And this ties in with what we said at the beginning here, that, looking up here, we talked about our asymptotes. So when the power of the numerator is less than the power of the denominator, y equals 0 is a horizontal asymptote. And that's because when I think about what's happening when x gets really big, well, when x gets really big, my y values are getting closer and closer to 0. My vertical asymptotes, those are going to happen when my denominator is equal to 0. So that's going to factor into x minus 3, x plus 1. So when that's equal to 0, that's x equals 3 or x equals negative 1. So those are my two vertical asymptotes. I'm going to think about intercepts. If x is 0, then my y value is going to be 5 over negative 3, so negative 5/3. To make this equation equal to 0, I look at the numerator. So negative 5 over 2, comma 0 gives me my x-intercept. So let's plot all of those things. I'm going to put in my asymptotes. And I realized that last time I put in an asymptote, I forgot to label it. So I'm going to label them this time. So this one, of course, is y equals 0. And now I've got x equals negative 1. And I've got x equals 3. So labeling both of those. I'm going to put in my intercepts. So 0, negative 5/3, that's like, or not like, that is negative 1 2/3. So sort of about there. This is, oh, that's supposed to be a y-intercept. Let me do that. My x-intercept is negative 2.5 over here. All right, so this is interesting because clearly I'm crossing my horizontal asymptote. That's okay. This is just saying that when x is 2.5, y is equal to 0. Over here, this seems to imply to me that my curve will be down this way because I know I don't cross the x-axis again. So let me plug in x equals 1. So k of 1 is going to be 7 over 1 minus 5 is negative 4. So that's going to be just under negative 2. So this is negative 2.75. So down here. That was yes. Okay. Negative 1.75, not negative 2.75. All right. So I think it's going to look something like this. And maybe it goes up a little bit more. I don't actually know where the maximum is unless I use my calculator. So you could guess it's going to go up a little bit more, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. All right. I'm going to think about what's happening as I get closer and closer to negative 1. So as I'm getting closer to negative 1, my numerator is going to be positive, and my denominator is going to be negative. So I'm going to have a positive divided by a negative, but that negative is going to be getting really, really close to, sorry, I'm just thinking about my denominator and whether it's actually negative. Maybe it's not. Let me write this in its factored form. X minus 1 times x plus 3. Oh, no, that's x plus 1, x minus 3. Okay, so if I put in a value that's close to negative 1, that's going to be negative. That's going to be negative. Because if I'm looking at this side, I've got close to negative 1. So actually that's going to be positive. So positive over positive makes positive. So I'm going to go up that direction. And now I'm going to think about, I know I don't cross the x-axis again, so do I bounce off and stay on this side, or did I come through? So now I'm going to think about what's happening as my x is getting really hugely negative. So then I'm going to have negative over negative times negative. That's going to make a negative. So I know I'm going to cross over, but then come back up towards the 0 asymptote. Now I want to think about this side. Am I on this side or down here? Well, I'm going to have positive over positive times positive is all going to be positive. So up towards positive infinity and down towards 0 from above. I know I don't cross again because I had only one x-intercept.